everybody out there, you're tuned in to 91.8 The Fan. You're in my corner, and I have a very special guest in the corner. Would you
Uh,
like to unveil your secret identity?
yes, you may know me as Tyler Walker, ADR director, line producer, and guy who gets killed a lot at Funimation. And I'm happy to be here.
I feel like that needs to be a shirt. Guy who gets killed a lot at Funimation.
Yeah, I know 1,000 ways to die. So
Well, that's always the most fun character I've heard. So
yeah, it's really. Ask Jonathan Osborne. He played
that's true.
everybody that died at the end of Cowboy Bebop.
That is true. Well, now, one thing I want to know is because usually you don't just go, I'm gonna go be a voice actor, or I'm gonna go do this in anime. So, how did you get into your current career?
Well, I was in the I'm from a I lived in a small kind of college town in North Texas, outside of Dallas, called Denton. And I was in bands. I played drums, and a lot of people in the band kind of scene knew each other. And of course, we were all interested in audio. And I'd gotten a degree in radio, television, and film. And a friend of mine, Matt Pearsall, who runs a video game audio company now, was working here, and I was working at like a sign shop, and he's like, you should be using your degree, and you should be putting that to work, and we may have something open up at Funimation." So I came and I interviewed with the former producer here, this guy Barry Watson, and that was in June, and then about I didn't hear anything for 6 months. So I just figured it was over. Then they called me up and said there was an opening. So I started as a ADR engineer and just kind of production assistant. I edited a lot of the audio after it was recorded. So I would take out any like mouth noises, or you try to cut things up so they fit the flaps a lot better. You know how we try to match flaps, try to match the animation as much as possible. So cut up some of the dialogue and try to take out some of the noises or some of the mistakes, or make it all time out really nicely. And then I started working as an engineer more with Mike McFarland and Colleen, and pretty much every director up here I worked as an engineer with. And then finally, I uh, I was able to move into a director position. Someone had an unfortunate accident, which I know nothing about, and uh, lo and behold, they needed a new director. And then it's been like that for. I've been working with Funimation for almost 10 years now, and directing for about six. So it's been a long, very fulfilling uh, stint here.
So, you started out as the guy that all the voice actors like. It's like, oh, yeah, he can just squish my voice and make it longer with the magic of Pro Tools.
Yeah. Like we have some actors here, especially they're like, "All right, work your magic," that are. So then you cut them all up, and you try to stretch it or compress it, and there's some constraint. There's some constraints to that, but as long as we get a good clean track, there's quite a bit we can do if we need to. So, but people here, they've gotten better and better, and we learn new things every day. And all the new engineers that have come in are can do things I couldn't do when I started out. So it's just always expanding, and people are getting better every day.
Well, don't let them show you up.
Well, I like to get behind the chair every once in a while, and the guy I'm working with now, Kyle Phillips. We're both minor roles in a show that I can't yet talk about. So I'll get in there and record him from time to time, and he'll record me. So, but I like to only wear one hat if possible, doing that kind of thing.
Well, now, one thing we don't hear about often is we hear about ADR direction, but we never hear about what a line producer does. Now, is that just, adjusting the voice actor's voice, or what other duties does a line producer
Well,
have?
a line producer will have like a kind of final, barring on certain shows, the Japanese want to have final say on who gets cast. the line producer will have is the next step down. So if the Japanese say, you can hire, we trust you to cast this show. On a couple of them, it's been very very rare that they'll exert a little more of their influence on casting decisions. But the line producer will make the major casting decisions, sometimes some minor ones, and you might have a director who does a show for who directs a show that you're producing. So you basically check all their work. Uh, a couple years ago, especially like working on Bamboo Blade and Kaze no Stigma, uh, and a couple other shows, I had Chris Kaysen, who was directing those shows for me. So I'd give them to him, and and then I'd look over the work and say, oh, this is great, or can you get this line again, or can we rewrite this line, or that kind of stuff. And then also we watch all the final mixes with the mix engineers, and we say more explosions, or can we get a echo kind of effect here, or can you know affect this differently, or can this be louder or this be quieter. So you make some of those kind of decisions, and certain scheduling and stuff like that.
Is it bad that when you said more explosions, all I could think of was Michael Bay?
No, no, no. Yeah, I mean, we like to hear the boom if we can. So
Now
I'll,
I'm just thinking of uncut editions of anime, the Michael Bay edition.
I'll take the Michael Bay. He's makes more money than I do. So,
Well, there you go. But
but
now,
it's not really adding in a lot of stuff. It's just like saying like I want this explosion to really to give me some more bass out of this, or can we make this hit seem harder, or can we that they'll choose different reverbs for like a ice cavern, or a interior shot, or something, and you ask for certain qualities that you want from that. You say like I'd like this to sound watery, more watery, or can we use this kind of phasing effect.
that actually sounds really cool. I know that some sticklers for the original version are is like, don't change anything, but I feel like you have to have some sort of atmosphere that helps add to it for a different audience.
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, there's only certain. It depends on the show and what kind of materials we get from them, from the original producers, to what we can do. We're sometimes our hands are tied a little bit, but sometimes we can really expand the mix. We put everything to 5:1, so some placement issues. As far as like where we want some footsteps to be. I mean, it's a very uh, small example. How we want something to travel. If we want something to pan from left to right, and maybe it does or maybe it doesn't in the original stereo track. Someone walks from one side to the other, we want the sound to follow. We want someone is off screen, we want that to come from out of the not from the center channel or in the center channel, or we want to push some sounds to the back in the 5:1 mix. So there's kind of like little judgment calls like that. Or for example, the show Shangri-La that I just finished, we had a character called Medusa, who's this computer generated serpent avatar, right? And he's in a lot of he's always saying help me, and he's always having these kind of problems to where he's kind of degenerating in a way. So I asked Neil Malley, the mix engineer, to give him various levels of clarity. You could take his resolution down when he's having a lot of problems, and he had some really amazing vocal effects he could add to that. Where I don't know. There's long story short, he could manipulate that in different ways, and we could talk about how much and what kind of how degraded we want the sound, or how clear he sounds, or whatever. So there's certain kind of things like that, or even something like this car is too loud. Can we take this car down, and can we bring this other thing up? So mix engineers do a lot. You're just kind of an extra set of ears on there, and you can kind of converse with them and talk about different strategies to expand the world of the show as much as possible.
This is oddly fascinating to me because we always get to hear about the voices, but we never get to hear about the other decisions in anime. So thank you for letting us know about that.
Well, that's one of the most fun parts about it, especially if you get a show with really good sound effects and really separated sound effects and music and stuff, and if you have a very all our mix engineers are very knowledgeable, but um, if you have a knowledgeable mix engineer and you can really get him to push the boundaries of certain things, like for example, and yeah, I used to think Neil, who I was talking about earlier, was probably sick of me because I would get him to do crazy stuff. Like, because I directed Black Cat. I don't know if y'all have seen that one, but there's certain kind of characters. Like, there was this one who had like a metal face, and I was like, I'd really love to hear some sort of metal sound, some squeaking or some dusty kind of. He was like a robot cowboy kind of thing, and I wanted him to sound like really rusty whenever he talked. And so through all this stuff, and Neil's up here working late at night trying to make me happy on this, and he had blended in a sound of like a rusty hinge and some like kind of metal sounds that would that were timed out to every time that this guy talked, and they were just kind of blended in with his voice. And there were some other ones that had like some kind of animal noises in the same thing to try to make the vocal effects as interesting as possible, or add water or something. So I'm sure he really loved me when he was up here at midnight trying to nail in this rusty sound that I'm frantically searching for. But that kind of stuff, it adds just that much more to the overall viewing and listening experience, and that's what we want. We want it to be as full of an experience as possible.
Well, now I have to wonder because it seems like voiceover, came afterwards. Were you just sitting in the editor's chair one day and you were like, "Oh, let me do this," or did somebody pull you in, or how did that happen?
Oh, as far as like going to directing.
Or going and like voicing a character?
Oh, voicing a
Mhm.
character. Oh, like there's certain things like if you have a show like DBZ or One Piece, especially where there's like, oh my gosh, like some of these One Piece episodes, there may be, and I've okay, so let me give you an example. Like I did Requiem for the Phantom or Phantom Requiem for the Phantom, right? And some of those scripts would have 5 characters in them, and then you see one of these One Piece, and there's all these craftsmen, and there's soldiers and marines and officials and blah blah blah, where you might have 100 different soldier A, soldier triple A, like all the way up through like, there's not even enough letters to count. So so you get pulled in for stuff like that quite often. It's like, can you say like over there? Ah! So there's a lot of that. You kind of get your feet wet doing that. I definitely prefer being on the coaching people side of voice work. Uh, but that's just something that happens. You we need a lot of voices here, and there's guys here that we've heard hundreds or thousands of hours of it, and so we're always able to help in. I think the person who gave me my first character was Colleen directing Full Metal Alchemist. She gave me the fake Elric brothers' dad.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
She
I had to think about that one.
Yeah, she liked it, so I was happy. But it's interesting, especially after spending so much time on one side of the mic and then going to the others. Just too critical of myself, so I don't really love voice acting as much as directing.
Yeah, I was about to say it's probably really nerve wracking to, just be on one side of the glass and then having to switch to the voice actor's shoes and just kind of like, oh God, am I going to do this right? What am I doing?
Yeah, you just rip it apart. So, but it's fun, and there's some things like being monsters and all that kind of stuff. It's just never that kind of stuff never gets old. It can be painful from time to time if you have to do a like and I think maybe one or two of my sessions that I've been called in to do voice acting have been a bit of revenge. Like for example, like I did the show with Todd Habercorn called Blast Rider, and he was the main character, this guy Joseph, and he had to do these gut wrenching transformations. And this one episode, it was just like screaming transformations, and uh, like we had to stop after he said, "I taste blood," like he was telling me he could taste blood in his throat. So we stopped there, and then like he was working on D Gray Man at that time, and then I got called in for like 2 hours of Monster, so which is just all screaming and just ripping your throat apart. So I think he was getting a little revenge on me in that way.
Well,
Uh,
I think it might be justified if he could taste blood. I'm just
I,
saying.
it was yeah, I had to tell him I tasted blood, but it was all fine. We healed, and we can probably all speak a little deeper now because of that.
Well, you're all ready for your, trailer voices when you're
Oh,
doing movie trailers. Yes.
everyone has their trailer voice, but I mean, that kind of stuff, that monster stuff and that creature stuff can really, really rip you up if you're having to do a lot of growls and screams but it's fun. It's very you can get a lot out, if you're in the right mindset.
Definitely. And I think that's a good time to take a break here on 91.8 The Fan. But don't go anywhere because our special guest isn't. You might want to get some cough drops just in case the blood in the throat thing didn't feel right. So stay tuned to your favorite station where we play everything you want and nothing you don't. Howdy, everybody out there. You're still tuned to 91.8 The Fan because where else would you be listening? Why would you tune out? Bad person, you. And I'm still here with my special guest. At least I hope he's still alive. Are you alive?
Yes.
Okay, it sounds like his throat's still bleeding, but
No,
we're
I'm alive and happy to be here. Thank you.
wonderful. Well, we're happy to have you. And I know we were talking a little bit about this behind the scenes, but I do know you have a new project that you would love to pimp out to the listeners out there.
Yes. Yesterday was the street date for a property that I was pretty heavily invested in this last year called Shangri-La. And it's a Gonzo show, and we wrapped up earlier this year, and I'm very very happy with it. I was able to write about 6 to 8 scripts, adaptations, and direct all 24 episodes and cast it and sit in on the mix of what I was talking about earlier, and it was a very 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 fulfilling experience. The art's beautiful, of course. The dub is stellar, and me and Michael Tatum, and actually we were just talking about while we were off air, we were talking about the lovely and talented Patrick Seitz, and he was also in on that script adaptation. So me and him and Tatum uh, were able to do those, and great time.
That sounds like an all-star cast of the anime world.
Yeah, we have some new people in there. You said you talked to Afia last week, and hopefully, or the week before, I don't remember, but you said you just talked to Afia,
Mhm.
and hopefully she was pimping the show pretty hard.
They were both pimping the show pretty
Good.
hard.
Yeah, because they were both involved in it, but it was a bigger role for that I'd ever worked with her on, and she just really killed it. And we had Lindsay Seidel, who I'd worked with a couple times on Phantom. She was a unknown back then, but on Phantom, and Kent Williams as the transsexual character, Momoko, which was a delight. He was amazing to work with and very fun to write and to direct. And a newer guy named Randy Perlman was the other featured transsexual character, Miko. And actually, I was fortunate enough to be able to cast my lovely wife, Heather, as the Lord Hiroko, the Lord of this the structure that most of these people live in called Atlas. And we talked about screaming earlier, and this kid screams like I mean he's a really kind of tortured soul, or he is a tortured soul, but major major screaming, and she loved it. She was one of the rare ones that actually she would be happy to be there, and then we'd just make her scream for like 2 hours, and then she was even more energized afterwards. She loved it. It was like she exercised some demons on that. She'd come out and she'd feel great,
Well,
and that hoarse.
It sounds like she doesn't need the secret Chinese throat soothing remedy that we keep hearing about.
No, no, no. She. I mean, we'd go out to lunch or something, or I'd come home and she'd just be sounding just like she always did. So she's an anomaly in that way. But it was great to bring her in on that, and it was a lot of fun and a very complicated storyline on that show, and a lot of different levels, a lot of different things going on, a lot of ways to break it down and analyze it, and it's just something that I've actually enjoyed watching again after finishing it. Some you just I don't know. You see them so many times, and you're so connected to them, and it's just sometimes it's hard to go back and watch everything. But this one, I felt like the more I went back and we did some commentaries after we were done with the whole series, and I understood it more, and it's really interesting. A show that has a lot of complexity on how it'll keep unfolding for you if you look hard enough, and that's some things I wish I'd known. I wish I'd understood better going in, but it's part of the learning experience.
What's nice is, the amount of research that people do before they start working on a show. I know
Mhm.
that the goal is to get it done as quickly as possible due to the way the anime industry is and how anime fans are, but sometimes it's really neat to see those extra details.
Oh yeah, yeah, and it's like working on Fairy Tale pretty much all last year. I was able to, they'd had several that were available to us that were already completed, in Japan. We were a season behind them, and their season was something like 50 episodes or 40 something episodes. They were like really far ahead, so we were able to see as much as possible. And I was also on the writing team for that one, and John Bergmeyer, the head writer of the King of all writers at Funimation, had provided me and Monica with like the first 12 or 13 volumes of manga before we started on the scripts, or as many that were out at the time, because the manga is so far behind the anime. But so we had a lot of resources to go with, and we had to really throw put a lot of time behind working on that show. Watching the episodes and reading the translations and reading the manga and watch lather, rinse, repeat over and over again. And so hopefully that you can catch all the things that you can, kind of foreshadowing, or you never caught off guard too much about anything, because we don't ever want to be too surprised, like, oh, that was a man all along, or something like that. You never want some big gotcha moment like that.
That would be bad if a girl
like
girl had voiced a trap the entire time.
it's like, oh no, that was a should have been a dude. uh
Whoopsie.
yeah, but there's some things that you can know about, and a show like that, I mean, so they're what, in the 130 something episodes now, so hopefully we will finally eventually catch up with them. But we're doing it one season at a time. So season two. I'm sure everyone's heard that season two of Fairy Tale was announced. That we had licensing rights for that. So we will be continuing forward. And I'm very happy about that. I'm glad to be back with the cast and getting back in that world. Because you get so wrapped up in everything. I mean, we work on these shows, especially if you're writing the scripts. You might be working on something 50 or 60 hours a week, and that's like a lot of your whole the people you're hanging out with, you're with the cast, and you're with the characters and everything. So it's you're totally encompassed in that world if you're especially if you're involved in the directing and writing side, because you have to spend all day with them, and
Well,
then on the weekends.
let's hope you like them then.
Oh yeah, yeah. No, it's you can always grow to appreciate almost any property that you work on, and you have to take care of it, and you have to nurture it, because if you don't care about it, it's hard to expect anyone else to. You know what I'm saying?
No, I completely understand. But for the listeners out there, are there any other projects that you want to pimp out? Anything that you're working on you can talk about? Or anything that has already come out that you're able to talk about without snipers trying to kill you? Or ninjas?
Oh man, I really wish I could talk about another show that I'm working on, but I can't. But it'll be great.
Those pesky ninjas.
Is. But there is, I see a laser scope being drawn on me right now, so I'm going to not say anything more about that. This later this fall or perhaps early winter, the show called "Is This a Zombie?" or what is it in Japanese? Korewa Zombie Desu Ka is coming out, and about the kid who dies and is brought back to life and has to a magical chainsaw makes him a cross-dressing monster fighting zombie.
Yeah, I've heard about that series quite a bit.
Yeah, it's actually it's really ridiculous. It takes a lot of kind of tropes that you see in anime, and it kind of turns them on its head. And we had a lot of fun with the dialogue and with the actors in there, and it's actually really. I was surprised at how funny I thought it was once I was done with it. So I'm very happy to see that one see the light of day. Uh, and I don't know. I mean, of course, over the past several years, anything that I've particularly worked on or anything that we put out, I would like to, encourage people to check out if they're interested. I mean, as many of you know, we have, if it's available, we have our channel. We have everything online. Netflix carries many of our titles for streaming. For those of you who can stream Netflix or Hulu, so there's a lot of ways to get the product, or you can also always buy it.
Definitely. And I know just a little plug on our side for those of you curious about what titles Funimation has. Over in the forums, we have a legal streaming directory where you can keep track of all that stuff.
Nice,
Yes.
nice. Yeah, and over the course of the years, I've done a lot of shows, and since I don't make a lot of the con circuit, I don't know what the fans are still talking about or what they liked or anything like that. I'm just not as plugged in as much as some others are, but someone will come back for something and say, I've been getting a lot of love for Bakano. I've been signing a lot of Bakano stuff lately. And it's like, well, that's great. I'm glad that I'm glad that people are still into that show, and that was one of my favorites. Or, they say, I signed a Oedo Rocket DVD the other day, and so that stuff always that's always good to hear. It always makes me smile and know that people out there are paying attention and are enjoying it. So because as we do work very hard, and we want this stuff to be we're not doing it just to earn a buck. We really want to to make the product the best possible that we can, and when it leaves our hands to make sure that it's been cared for. You know what I'm saying?
No, I know exactly what you're saying. I mean, the fans love to support, the anime industry. And for the listeners out there who want to know, what you're up to, or if you do happen to go to any conventions, or if they want to ask you questions, do you have any place on the internet where they can do that? Maybe Facebook, Twitter, anything like that?
Oh man, I don't think I have it. I think I had a Twitter at one point, but in my Facebook page, it's kind of like a personal one. I don't know. I mean, people can always look me up on Facebook, and if they have a question, I will always, I will always answer it, as best as I can. I'm not on there a whole lot, uh, but or they can always send anything to me, care of Funimation's address.
Well, that is a good way to do it, so that they're not hanging high and dry on that one.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know. I don't have much of an internet. I'm not a great self promoter, I guess, or have a big internet presence. So maybe I should work on that. I don't know.
Well, if you ever get a website or a Twitter, just let us know and we'll let the
Right.
listeners out there know.
Certainly. People keep trying to get me to get on Twitter, but I just haven't taken the bait yet.
Well, now that, we're on to the next phase, now it's Tumblr. Now it's all about that.
Oh yeah, everyone tumbles now. They used to
Yeah. You're gonna be one social generation behind.
I'm still like, hanging out on Friendster, like,
And
uh,
MySpace.
keeping a big profile there. But
Well, now, since we're nearing the end of this interview, we have a little tradition here on 91.8 The Fan. I was wondering if you'd be willing to participate.
yeah, sure. What is this?
Don't worry, we don't tie you up and cover you with feathers. That's the other tradition. With this one, we ask anybody, whether they're a voice actor or not, if they'd be willing to do a radio bump for us.
Yeah, certainly.
Awesome. We basically ask if you could say, "Hello, my name is," you insert your name. "I do this." You can insert characters you've been, you can insert that you're, a director, whatever you want to put there. It's completely up to you. And you're tuned into 91.8 The Fan.
All right.
So actually, whenever you're ready, we're recording. You get to do this live.
All right. Hey guys, this is Tyler Walker. I'm a ADR director, line producer, scriptwriter, and guy who gets killed a lot at Funimation Entertainment. And you are listening to 91.8thefan.com.
And that's perfect because we can take the .com off or we can leave it.
Oh, sorry.
Yes, that's fine. We can make our audio editors mess with it. I can make them squish it with the Pro
All right.
Tools they don't have.
Awesome. Or you can stretch it out to where it's like.
Or we could just take that because you just did it so perfectly. is
Here,
there
a lot
any,
of files here.
is there anything else you'd like to tell the listeners out there?
Well, I don't know. I just appreciate everyone who took a listen or who's ever watched one of my shows, and I don't know. I'm drawing a blank right now. Sorry. Thanks everybody, and I really appreciate you guys having me on and talking to me. As you can tell, I like to talk.
Well, we would love to have you on anytime you want to talk. We're
All right,
good for
sir.
talking.
Cool.
Definitely. It'll sleep over time on Kana's Corner. But for anybody out there that missed any of this interview, don't fret. It'll be posted on the website within the next few days. So keep your eyes peeled to 918thefan.com and your ears tuned to 91.8 The Fan, where we play everything you want and nothing you don't. Coming up next is School Food Punishment with Runnin' Through.